is for, and I'm out of the shower. I already did my makeup, and we're just going to be talking about dupes today. Now, I don't mean that we're going to be looking at products and going, oh, hey, this is a great dupe for this product. On my channel, that's not what we do. There's a lot of channels that dupes are their bread and butter. People tune in, love them, but that's just not me. And so we're gonna dive in today about why I don't specifically look for dupes, but also why I don't always buy luxury. So we're gonna talk about that, have my coffee to hopefully help me be more clear-headed and exciting in my take on this, but we're going to talk about it and dive into some of the psychological reasons that I don't look for dupes, and then also just very clear elements that we can look at and go, oh, this is a product packaging issue, this is a product itself issue, this is an advertising issue. So sit down if you want a beverage, and here we go. All right, so I made a handy dandy list. The normal reasons why people want dupes. There's some sort of a product that they want, but it costs a lot or is hard to get, and so therefore they want a cheaper or more readily accessible alternative. Let's take, for instance, the Charlotte Tilbury, the Beauty Light wands, and the contour ones. Higher end, people really want them. So it could be that the price is prohibitive for someone, so they're looking for a dupe. Or it could be the fact that sometimes, like the contour wand was sold out for a long time. You couldn't get a hold of it if you wanted to get a hold of it. So you're looking for a dupe, something like that, so you can scratch that itch that was the contour wand. But people, other companies now, we've really seen it. And Angelica Nyquist just did a video on the poofs. Not all poofs are created equal. So she went through the Charlotte Tilbury line of that, looked at a number of the dupes that are coming out that are duping packaging and trying to dupe color or formula. And so if you haven't checked out that video, you should. That's a great one. But people are duping the packaging to let you know that the product is, that mirror, supposedly, for the Charlotte Tilbury. Is it? Probably not. Now, for me, psychologically, there's a little bit of a backbone to this. It's the same reason that I don't believe in buying like the knockoff handbags. I worked for Chanel for a hot second in a cosmetics counter, and they were really, like, don't bring to work, don't have your Chanel knockoff, don't do whatever. And that really never had occurred to me, because half of the point to me of having a Chanel handbag was that I could afford an actual Chanel handbag. That it wasn't that I was looking for a knockoff because I couldn't afford it. If I was going to have that, sign of luxury of who I was as a person, I would want the actual thing. And then coming to the second part of it, Chanel handbags really aren't my style. So knowing myself and knowing that that's not really what I'm looking for in the product itself was a really good differentiation. It's like, well, not only do you want to have the high-end brand because it tells you inside that you can afford it, and as a person that grew up not being able to afford it, that was meaningful to me. But also the idea, when I really looked at it, I didn't like the product itself as much. It's beautiful, but it's not really my thing. And so I try to use that gauge when I'm looking at things. Am I buying something because I want a status symbol? I want a status element. I want to say, hey, look, I can afford luxury makeup. Do I like the product itself? Or are there other reasons why I might want to purchase that? Getting over the I'm a poor person wanting to feel rich. That kind of it could be wounding. Is kind of important. So the fact that you are not driven to buy things just because you're looking for a feeling of worth, but because there's something intangible about the thing itself that you really love. So it's trying to find that, where is my mental health in all of this? But I do want to say sometimes luxury products are worth it. the product themselves have a feel to them, have a look to them, have a smell to them, have a use, an ease of use that really do make them special. And so I'm gonna go through a couple of products. I have some empties, so we're gonna throw in some empties here to talk about all of these things. Because usually, if it's not a price issue and it's not an availability issue, oftentimes there are other factors that make us feel like we can be satisfied with what we have, or we can be joyful and loving what we have, or we can be dissatisfied with what we have. So that's one of the things that if you fall into the dissatisfied category, a product is not doing what you want, it's not looking like how you want it to on the face, it's not performing, then you are dissatisfied. If you are satisfied, you're like, on the side of satisfied, like it's like, well, it works, it's fine, I can slap it on my face or use it and I'm okay, I can go through my day and I can feel, not like a toxic sludge monster. But there's this other category of satisfied that goes into the really enjoying and love the products, those holy grail sort of things, but for real. Now, when we use that word holy grail, what we're looking for is the perfection. And if we look at the word itself, the holy grail is unattainable. Like, any of the movies you watch, nobody really gets the holy grail, or if they do, it's like the Indiana Jones, it's in the hand for a while, but you have to sacrifice it for something else. Like the holy grail is not meant to be had. And so really, I feel like myself included, need to be changing our languaging. If you want to use the ride or die, that's fine. But that holy grail status is not really accurate. If you're looking for the holy grail, you're looking for something that exists but you can't have, or that you're not going to have, or whatever, which is going to be something you will always be striving for but never attain. So that can lead you into a big spending cycle. Like, I'm looking for the perfect blush in all categories, and I am probably not going to find it. Maybe I'm going to find something that's really awesome and spectacular and I love using, but as far as holy grail, it's like, this is my most used, most loved, most whatever, most perfect item for me. So just a little side note, the definition of hell is one of those things of like you can never be satisfied, you can never be satiated. I'll step back just a little bit to a time in grad school when I did not experiment with illicit substances for the most part, just because my body wouldn't handle it and my brain didn't like it. But I had stepped into a little bit of the devil's lettuce, and my friends and I then ordered pizza. And we got the pizza, and I was eating the pizza, and I was about probably 3 or 4 slices in, and like, oh, this is tasting so good, I like it so much. And then I suddenly just froze, because I understood in that moment that I did not feel satiated. I'd eaten 3 or 4 pieces of pizza that tasted lovely, and I did not feel satisfied at all. Like, I could keep eating that pizza forever and never feel satiated. And at that moment in time, I decided some drugs were not for me. Because that was the idea of hell for me. Like, I loved eating things, but I also loved that feeling of being full and satiated and happy with where I was. And not being able to get that way because of drugs was like, wow, okay, I can see why people chase certain dragons, but like, wow, that's not me. I like to feel full and satisfied. So the idea of chasing a holy grail, I'll do a little bit of that, but at a certain point in time, I have to say, if I can't feel satiated, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna get off that horse. So anyway, side note, told you we were going to get psychological today. So I'm going to talk about, because some products, it's an element of packaging, a fragrance or non-fragrance, the product itself, a color, a brand, or whether it's luxury or non-luxury, where we fall in that what do we want for our collections. So I'm going to start with, just going to go through a couple of products to kind of illuminate some of these ones. So we're going to talk about, like, if I'm looking for something in my collection that I feel like has that favorite product status. The fact that I have empties repeatedly about it. I want to talk about the Tatcha. This is the rice wash, the gentle one. I like everything about this. This is the cleanser that I use in the morning. It's not necessarily set up to really take off makeup. It's more for your skincare, just specifically. So with this one, I love the packaging. It has this really pretty kind of gradient of lighter to a little bit deeper purple. It has the gold writing on it. It has an easy open cap. The product dispenses easily. The product smells like a light, fresh, a little bit of citrus, a little bit of sweet. But it's very, very light, and it dissipates the feel of the product. It has a little bit of because it's a rice wash, but it doesn't feel scrubby. It is creamy, goes on, has a little bit where you can feel that it is kind of removing some dead skin from overnight, a little bit of your night products coming off, but the feel of it is very creamy, and then it feels good on the skin. It goes from a cream into, if you put your water in it, it has a more emollient feel, but it washes off. It makes your skin feel clean but not stripped, and it's just a lovely experience in the shower. So for me, it's marking all of these boxes: the packaging, the smell, the way it applies, how it feels, how my skin, how it actually does, cleansing my skin, and how my skin feels afterwards. So for me, this is an all-around win. It's a repurchase item, so and it is expensive, but I love all of it, and it's just a joyful experience in the shower. When I see it visually, I'm like, ah. When I use it, I'm like, ah. When it goes off, I'm like, ah. So, that sort of experience, I am so satisfied and so happy with it that I'm not looking for something like this. I am looking for this specifically. So that kind of captures all the categories. Now, if I found something, the dupe, if someone was trying to dupe it, they would need to dupe all of those things. It would need to feel like a luxury experience. It would need to look great on the eyes. When I looked at it in the morning, it would have to have a pleasing fragrance. And I'm not saying that someone couldn't do this, but if they didn't do it perfectly, then it wouldn't be as good, and I wouldn't love it as much. And so therefore, I'm not really wanting to look for other things. If I'm going to think about, okay, this is a repurchasing product, how do I get this cheaper? And, is it accessible? Yes, I can get it in a number of places. And so what I do then is I restructure my buying to look for, okay, this is the exact product I want. I got my replenishment of this. This is an empty, it's all empty. I got my replenishment during the Sephora sale for 20% off, and that's how I'm trying to do my buying of that, is to look for 20% or better off of the item, or if Tatcha is having a bundle, or if it's on like a QVC where it's cheaper, I can look at that also. But this is the product that I want, and this is the one that I'm going to make sure that I have a way to purchase it, and purchase it more economically. Okay, so then we have other things. Sometimes it's hard to describe why we reach for something. Companies put in a lot of marketing research to see, do we reach for something because of the skin feel? Do we reach for something because of the fragrance? Do we, why are we reaching for this thing? And sometimes it's not really clear. I'll have products come in, and technically they should be really up my alley, but I don't find myself reaching for them. I find myself reaching for something else. And why is that? So I'm going to talk about a product that I am not sure exactly what it is, but I know it. It's like, how do we define pornography? We don't know, but we know it when we see it, or art or makeup. So this is the Peach and Lily. This is the glass skin serum. I use this every day, 2 pumps, and then 2 pumps of the moisturizer. I do find this is very heavy packaging. You can, this feels like it could have product in it, but it's just the packaging and it's empty. So it's a very heavy feel to it. The design of the bottle is very cute, and then it has the peachy topping to it and the peach writing. So it looks very nice. It looks kind of fun, playful, light. The packaging feels heavy. It's got an easy dispense, squirty. Dispenses just the right amount. It feels good on my skin, and it is, you know, it soaks in. It doesn't feel oily or greasy or weird. I like the way it looks. It doesn't have any fragrancing, and it's just an all-around, it's a good product. Now, I have lots of different skin serums. I have lots of ones that could qualify in the glass skin. Do I feel like the outcome is exceptional? Like I'm just like blown away every time I apply it? No, but there's something that keeps me reaching back over and over for this again. And it's really puzzling to me sometimes why this of all products is one that I'm reaching for again and again. But this is empty. This is my third empty. I picked this up when Ulta was doing their 21 Days of Beauty, I believe. No, it was before that. It was the last one. Not this 21, but the one before, I think, that I picked up my replacement for this. So I had this in back stock. So I'm taking this out as an empty, and I immediately had a replacement, and I used it, and I keep reaching for it. So I don't know, like when I'm thinking about why would I want to dupe this? I don't know, because there's just something very complete about this product that I like. And I don't think that it's made an experience for me. I don't find that it's like, is there something mind-blowing that's going on with my skin? I don't know. But what I do know is I reach for this continually, and it's a higher price point, and whatever it is, I don't know. It's not, you know, like the amazing part of it is not, you know, coming up to my level of consciousness why this beats out a lot of the other serums in my collection. I don't know. Sorry about that little coughing fit. It's fairly wet outside. It was kind of misty and rainy yesterday morning, and I think this morning as well. But it's just kind of a little bit of nasal stuff. So pardon my momentary pause there. So then the idea that sometimes is, just to sum up on the peach and lily, sometimes we're not quite sure. It's that the je ne sais quoi. You know, the unknown qualities that still keep us reaching for something. Like, does this look like the It Girl serum of the season? Not really, but like this is something that there's something to it. Like in a collection of skincare where I have a number of things that do a number of jobs, as it were, I reach for this one again and again, and somehow it is alluring to me in a way I don't understand. And so therefore trying to dupe it would be, you know, like at this point in time, I don't understand enough of what it is that keeps me reaching for this again and again to try and dupe the product. So this is something that I just rebuy the product, and maybe someday it'll come to me. But this is one that I reach for over and over again, and something in me just likes. So now as far as packaging, I love packaging, but the product of this is wonderful, but this packaging reminds me of Pirate Treasure. And so this is a great product as well. I'm wearing it today, but the packaging of it is really stellar. So not only am I loving the packaging, I'm loving the product, and I like Charlotte Tilbury, and you know, that's a cruelty-free brand, which is a thing. You know, why we might not want to buy something might be because of the brand. Either we have an issue with the brand, we don't love it, or they're not cruelty-free, etc. So that's one of the things that I know that people think about when they're looking at, I'd like a dupe of it. And so I'm going to talk about the Dior blush, because everybody's been trying to dupe that. And if I like the color of blush, all I have to say is, do I have that in my collection? And do I love what I have? Now the Dior blush, what I don't like about it, I could buy it, not a problem. It was available. It's hard to get, so some people are looking for dupes because they can't get the Dior blush that they want. But it's been available enough that I could have picked it up. But a couple of things that I don't like. I don't love the size of the packaging. I kind of like a little bit more, you know, size to play around with, or shape to play around with to get the brushes that I want into it. I don't like the fact that it has a color on the top of the packaging that's not actually product. The product is on the inside, is not showing through the packaging. So you're not actually getting a read on the product. The only thing it does do is if you store it in a certain way, you can see easily, is it your peach or is it your pink? But I don't necessarily love that. I don't love the price point, and I don't necessarily feel like, you know, I've swatched it, I've looked at it. I don't know that there's enough of a performance difference between it and other things that I have that would make it superior where I would need to pick it up. For some people, because it's not a cruelty-free brand, that particular blush product I don't think has a lot of fragrance. Fragrance is an issue for me. Not all fragrances are my friend. I ended up looking for a replacement for the Dior Backstage because the fragrance, I just wasn't loving it and it wasn't dissipating. So for me, that was a reason. Like, I'm not looking to dupe it, but I'm looking to replace it with something much better. To me. But anyway, so the one size attention seeker cheek clapper. I love the packaging. I love the fact that it opens easily and has a big mirror and 3 different formulations of the pink. So we've got and I have all of these on my face today. The cream that's covered is this great kind of cream to powder, so it doesn't stay sticky or weird. The blush itself, and then a shimmery blush on top. So I have more options. I have in the same kind of color family as the Dior, but I love supporting a brand. Patrick Starr, love him. Love supporting the brand, love the colors, love the performance, love the pigment payoff, love the packaging, opening of the packaging. Like, this is not the most sexy outer packaging, but I definitely know what it is in my collection. It's easy to see, it's easy to work with, but I love the product so much that if I'm trying to dupe something, and dupe is the wrong word, if I feel inspired by the color of the Dior and feel like, oh, I have a hole in my collection that maybe I want. Now, sometimes I don't need to fill holes in my collection. They're there for a reason. Certain colors do not look good on me. I've had to come to that moment with the lighter lipsticks and the very cool mauve tones make me look dead. So like that's a kind of realization moment that maybe there's a hole in my collection that's just okay. It's fine for that to be a hole. But anyway, the inspiration of the Dior blush color, and it's not the first blush ever to exist of this color, but it's the newest and brightest star shining. And I just had to look at it and go, you know, I do like that color. Maybe I can look for that color in something that suits me better, in a way that I like to have it better. So this is slightly cheaper, has a lot more product, a lot of differentiation of product, supports somebody I like, and so therefore I'm gonna have this in my collection rather than the Dior, not because I'm looking to dupe specifically everything about that, but I want other, better, different. So this is mine. Now, the thing about luxury is that theoretically we like to think that it's not just, you know, got a name on it, or a designer, or a fashion house, or a makeup artist, or whatever, but we like to think that the products themselves are better in some way, that they are more carefully crafted, that they are more you know, product forward in the ways that they've had a lot of R&D, they've had a lot of, you know, put towards them. And sometimes that's true. One of the things about like some of the luxury lipsticks, when they're done right, is that they have a more nuanced color situation that sometimes other products don't have as nuanced color to them, that are lower in cost. And if it's a formulation that's not all that complicated, and it's colors that aren't that complicated. Really buying a cheaper version of it is not really, to my feeling, of duping an actual product. I felt that way recently about the the e.l.f., the O-Faced coming out and having a formula that was good, but it wasn't, like truly, innovative in any way. But they were good, solid lipsticks. But I also felt that same way about the Hourglass, the new Hourglass ones. The packaging was lovely, and I bought that price point specifically for the packaging. But the product itself, was just a nice lipstick. And so I feel like if you were just looking for the lipstick product itself, and it didn't matter what color specifically, like you could pick up an Hourglass or you could pick up an e.l.f. And they're kind of going after NARS by their packaging, you can see, but I feel like the formulation is maybe a little closer to the Hourglass, to the new Hourglass. But if you were just looking for the product itself, I don't think there's much difference between the product itself between those two. The packaging is definitely different between the Hourglass and the e.l.f., but it's not really a thing if you're just looking at the product. So you might as well buy the e.l.f. if you want to. There's not a lot of significant difference to me looking at the product itself for those. They're just not. But other things, there's definitely a difference. I feel like that's with the Charlotte Tilbury, the Hollywood Flawless Filter that e.l.f. and a number of other people, of course, went after and tried to dupe. But the formulation of the Charlotte Tilbury is a very different feeling, thinner, has a different light read to the skin, and people are looking at it going, the e.l.f. one is a dupe. And I don't think so. I think the formulation is different enough and feels different enough to me that depending on my preference, I would prefer what kind of product would I prefer. And I prefer the Charlotte Tilbury. I prefer the lightness of it. I prefer the little extra slippiness. And the e.l.f. one is just a little too emollient and a little too thick and a little too opaque in some ways. But if I was looking for that, okay. But in that case, it's like, if that's what I'm looking for, I find the Charlotte Tilbury version superior in a way that makes it worth it for me, and because I'm never going to run out of my bottle, probably because there's so much in it, that it's not really a thing there. Like price per wear is going to end up a non-factor, just because it's so much product. And same with like the cheek pinch blushes from Rare Beauty. If we were talking about a price per wear on that, it's in the fraction of pennies. It is so pigmented, like it is going to take you forever to work through one of those, and it's going to be cost effective. So if you love the color, you love the application, you might as well just purchase that because it's going to be just as inexpensive. So some of the ideas, people trying to dupe a product, but they're not really duping the ethos of it, how it really performs, what it feels like. And if you were a person who wanted a thicker, more emollient, more bodied texture, then the e.l.f. is really preferable to you as a product itself, not as like how does it dupe the Charlotte Tilbury, but is it a product itself that is more suited to what you're looking for in a product like that. And for me, again, looking at how can I get something cheaper? If you are part of the Charlotte Tilbury loyalty program, she runs coupons every once in a while for 20% off. So you can actually get things at a discount for that. Now, it's still not going to be close to the e.l.f. in price, but you're getting the product that you want. One of the things that I will say is, if for high-end things, if you don't know, and the idea is you're wanting to try something and see what it's like before you invest in it, go to a counter if there's a makeup counter that you can purchase something from, but go in, let someone know that you're trying things out. Don't get sucked into the madness. Just go with a very specific purpose. You're looking at this product, you're wanting to try it out if there's a sampling of it, or you're willing to sit down and have somebody do your makeup and purchase some piece out of it, like a lip color or something like that, even if the product that you came for wasn't exactly what you expected. But try and feel it, see how it performs, see how it smells, see what the packaging looks like, And that way you're not purchasing the high end without knowing how you feel about the product itself. Because the product itself will speak to you. Looking at the packaging, looking at the smell, the texture, the wear, all of that, the product itself will speak to you, and that's a good way to go see if a product is what you think it's going to be at that high price point. And then just, check on the return policy for things. Like you can, like with Ulta, the heads up is you can return things, but you can't have used a certain amount of it. You can't come back with an empty bottle to Ulta and go, didn't like it. Oh, I hated it. I used all of it up. But anyway, so we're gonna slide back to the why I don't always purchase luxury. And it has to do with the product itself. And we're going back to skincare on this one. But there are a number, small holes in my collection where the thing itself is a drugstore product, and that's what I like. You'll notice I do have a lot of ColourPop, which now is kind of drugstore, but you can order from the site, but it's in that kind of space where it's like kind of a little bit indie, but it's going into Target and Ulta and all that, so it's kind of drugstore. But I love what they're doing. The other thing I'm going to talk about for skincare is Cerave. Now, I have a number of products in my skincare regime that are Cerave. Why? These do not have the most interesting packaging. I like this because rather than it being in an eye cream that you have to scoop out with your fingers and possibly contaminate, it is in a tube. I have a little jar that I sip my tubes in. The products often surprise me. I'll try something out because I'm like, okay, they have different lines, some for acne prone skin, some for sensitive skin. And I find that my skin, being sensitive, doesn't usually react to anything that Cerave puts out. I just have not had a reaction. I tried one of the resurfacing of these guys, the more heavy duty ones, and my skin reacted to it. And these are generally really gentle. The Peach and Lily are generally really gentle, non-reactive, but this one had enough of a high voltage, we're doing something as an active, that my skin was like, nope, not doing it. So I haven't found that so much with the Cerave. So I got this as an eye cream, and what I was hoping is just like, okay, it's an eye cream that's a little more inexpensive than some of my other eye creams. This is one of my big concerns skincare wise, is under eye dryness and wrinkling, puffiness, just all sorts of things. But one night I wasn't thinking, I was just kind of in a zone, and I pumped out, squeezed out in this case, way too much for an eye application. And I'm like, I don't want to just ruin it and not use it. So I'm like, okay, we'll apply to the eye, and then we'll just apply the rest to my face and just go to bed. And I woke up and I had amazing feeling and looking skin. Excuse me. And I'm like, there's something to this formula that's really good that I need to look at again. Sorry, more coughing. Technically, at the price point versus some of my other skin creams, like I could just buy a whole bunch of tubes of this and just apply it over my face. Not really what I want to be doing with myself. But this is in the skin regenerating, what is it? Skin renewing, not regenerating, skin renewing line in Cerave. And so I thought, okay, the product itself behaved in a way that was surprising in a good way to me. I'm going to go ahead and go into the other skin renewing line of this for the face products. I'm going to go explore. And I feel like this is the reason that I don't always buy luxury, because even though this is I'm not trying to dupe something, but I'm looking at it going, I'm wanting those results. What's the best thing to get me those results? And sometimes with some of the higher ends, they are fragranced like why someone would have a fragranced eye cream, not quite sure, but they do. And or the packaging is really lovely, but you know, like you're getting a pump out of it that's too big or too little, or it's in a pot that you have to dip your fingers in, which is not my favorite, although a lot of my eye creams are that way because that's the way they come, but I like the formulation. But the idea is the product itself surprises me. The product lines surprise me in a good way so often that it's like, if I'm trying to dupe something, why would I try and, you know, if the product itself is so right, why would I want to dupe it? Why would I want to look for other things? And some of it might be just curiosity. You know, I see things and I'm like, oh, I'm curious about that. I wonder what it's like. In that kind of fantasy realm of maybe it would, you know, completely blur my under eyes and make them look fabulous and take all my wrinkles away. And I think that's what keeps driving us in some ways, is a curiosity, and also that whole, you know, if a holy grail does exist, I would like it. You know, I would like a cream that does all the things that I want it to do. And when I think about it, I'm either curious about things, or I'm driving after the holy grail, or something about the product isn't perfect. Like, I don't get any of my feels from this. It's not like the Tatcha, where it just, you know, feels, looks, the whole shebang. But again, I don't have a Tatcha eye cream because so far I haven't loved the Tatcha eye creams in the same way I love this. So if I were looking for something, if I were looking for a dupe for this, I wouldn't be looking for a product dupe. I would be looking for a packaging betterment. I'd look for a product that functions just as well as this, but that gave me some kind of experiential feel to it that I wasn't getting from a more plain packaging situation. And it would probably be, maybe it would be more expensive. I've seen products that I think are prettier, but that don't have the same efficacy as the Cerave. So it's like, what am I trying to dupe, and how important is it to me to have the total package in this case? And can it be done, and is it worth trying to find it? Is it worth me putting in time and money to try and dupe the formulation, to get that pretty packaging, to get that more experience to it? Or is that kind of a driving, I need to buy something, I'm looking for perfection, and I just need to calm down? So for me, it's been more like, I can just have this as part of a full regimen of skincare. I have my other eye products that maybe give me a little different feeling to them, or a little different texture or feeling on the eye or the touch to it. But I understand that if I was trying to dupe this, it would just simply be for packaging and the feels that I have about it. I would be looking to dupe the formula, and my plus one would be packaging for this. So I don't always buy luxury, because it's not always, the product is not always everything that I want it to be as far as a luxury brand. It's like there's some, you know, luxury clothing that you buy that's designer, and the workmanship, the stitching, the fabric is just subpar. You couldn't tell it, you know, if you took off a logo, you couldn't tell the difference between it from, you know, something that you get at your local, you know, Walmart. And so for me, that whole idea of duping is trying to figure out what it is exactly that I'm trying to replicate, and why am I not happy? Why am I not content or happy, you know, about my product, where I'm looking for a dupe? And for me, the reason that I buy some of the luxury, that I buy the thing, is because it marks all of these other boxes for me, and it's worth it to just get the thing. Or to figure out how to get the thing on sale, or to give me benefits when I'm buying it. Like if I'm ordering it for Sephora, I get points and things like that, that I don't get elsewhere if I bought it from, like, directly from the website. So for me, the question of dupes, I never really want to go anything like I'm looking to replicate this thing, because I believe that in some ways the brand that produced it had kind of an idea, and that idea is worth something, like an IP. That it's, you know, like they caught lightning in a bottle, and there's something that I want to reward for them being able to catch lightning in a bottle. You know, that's the magic of it, and that's what I want to reward, is you made a great thing and I want to reward you for that. Or you made something that has so many things that I love about it that it's worth it for me just to get that and be content, to not go on the never-ending hunt for the Holy Grail, or for something that's just like it, only cheap. So that's where I stand. Let me know how you feel about the dupe situation. If that's something that you have a totally different take on, let's have this be a conversation. I'd love it. So anyway, hope you're doing well. Your day is fabulous, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.